that was the first Mojave Experience Festival, and it's actually the first. They've been doing Joshua Tree music festivals twice a year. I've lived here 10 years and I haven't gone, but that one looked interesting, so I was like, oh, I'm going to that.
Yeah, he did a great job for it being his very first time.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And you've been out here before. My friends saw you at Pappy's a few years ago, I guess.
Yeah, played at Pappy's a couple of times. I think 3 times, actually. One was there was Stoned and Dusted, which was in, honestly, I don't know where it was. It was somewhere in Joshua Tree. We had to be bussed in.
Uh-huh.
It was really cool. It was like in this man-made amphitheater of rock somewhere in Joshua Tree. I don't know where.
Oh.
And then one time, yeah, there's a couple of desert. It was Stoned and Dusted, it was called.
Yeah, it's probably Gar's Boulder Garden.
That was like 2019. But yeah, we were at Pappy and Harriet's, I want to say 2023, I think, with Mondo Drag.
Mm-hmm.
Either 2023 or 2024, I can't remember, but that was the last time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you're from San Francisco, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great city. So just a couple of kind of questions about your creative life and your life's work and live shows, and you can, whatever you want to tell me about too, what's going on next. And I'm a freelance music writer and musician and heavy music fan for 30 years, and just this whole your live performances, just I don't know of any that parallel yours. And I've been
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I've been to hundreds of concerts. I've seen Tool, I've seen Metallica, Yeah, it's hard to even describe. The power is just immense. And this festival, this performance you did, I was very moved by Two Wheel Nation. I was just emotionally moved by that.
Well, that was a popular song that day because there was a lot of videos that people posted on Instagram, and it was mostly that song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you reached a lot of people emotionally through that song. I was thinking, your life's work, I feel like as a human, as an artist, you are your work as much as your work is you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I guess you could say that. I don't write a lot of songs for as long as I've, been doing this. I write a record every 5 to 7 years or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't like to just bust out a record to bust it out just because people want to hear new music and write something that's generic and meaningless. And
mm-hmm.
I put a lot of effort into caring about, what I write. And, I'll write songs that I don't even like and I'll kick them to the curb. So I'm really, I really think a lot about, what I'm putting out into the universe. And it's a rare occasion, though it does happen every now and again where I'll, write something that I don't necessarily love just to have an extra song, to make the record long enough. But, I think for me, it's more about the songwriting and what I want to put out in the universe and not about, how many records I can write and how many songs I can write and how fast
mm-hmm.
That's why Acid King doesn't have a big record label, because I don't want to be beholden to someone that's I have to have 3 records and 3 years, and
mm-hmm.
I've been offered a lot of money to write a record in a year, and I was like, I can't guarantee I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sure I can do that, but I don't know if the songs will be good enough. Maybe, but
mm-hmm.
So I don't like that kind of pressure. That's not my thing.
Yeah, you really want to express your soul and what's important to you. Is that, would you say, true?
Yeah. I mean, exactly. there's a difference. I'm not saying somebody can't write a good record in a short amount of time. I think Black Sabbath wrote like Black Sabbath in a day. I mean, it can be done, right, for sure. But it's like, I also have other things going on in my life. I'm not a full-time musician that just sits around and plays, and I have other things going on in my life, and I just can't dedicate, a ton of time as it takes to really write stuff as well.
That's kind of amazing because as far as I see, you're the queen of stoner doom, and that's like whenever you want it, it's there.
I might be one of the longest standing. I don't know if I'm the queen, but I've definitely been doing it for a long time. Still doing it.
Yeah, I mean, you're a legend. But I'm interested in this, how deliberate your songwriting is, and I'm noticing this too with your guitar tone, and I feel like all the choices you made for that sound and for each riff, it feels very focused, very directed, like you got every sound you wanted out of it, out of your guitar, out of your amp, because you dialed it in, and that's something I just am very impressed by in your work too.
Yeah, well, that takes time. You've got to find, when I first started playing, I didn't really have a tone. I didn't know what my tone was. How do you know what your tone is? You're just like playing. You're like, I'm playing my guitar. And I just, little by little, people, that I knew, other musicians were like, hey, you should try this, you should try that, you might like this. And it was just a series of I always joke around that like all of my ex-boyfriends, are the ones that really got me. I mean, to where I'm at today. I started out playing in a punk band, and my punk rock boyfriend taught me how to play the guitar, and he had a Fender, so I bought a Fender, and he had a Marshall, so I played I played his Marshall, and then I started going out with this metal guy, and he was like, Fenders suck, you need to play a Gibson, and I went out and bought a Gibson, and I was like, hey, this guitar's actually a lot better than the Fender, and then, a guy in his band had a Marshall for sale, a half stack, and so I bought it, and then the head blew, and I had to get someone to lend. I had to get a lender, and so the place that fixed my amp gave me one to borrow, and it was like this hot rodded Marshall that just sounded fucking amazing. I was like, holy shit, man, this thing sounds so good, way better than mine, and I had to give it back, and I was trying to figure out how to get that tone out of that particular head, and that's when I discovered effects pedals and distortion pedals, and so you just kind of meander. Right now, I think in these day and ages, there's so many people making pedals, right? You could buy the stoner rock pedal, the heavy metal pedal, the Buzz Osborne pedal, it's like there's pedals for everything, but that never used to be, right? You had like different distortion pedals by different companies, right? And you would have to play around with them to see what came out of it. So, it was a little, different back then. But I finally, through that and getting the little big muff that I have, which is a vintage Electro-Harmonix, and just trial and error, experimenting with different things. And of course, my Les Paul, the combination of all three, is how you get it. But also it's the way you play. It's like someone could have the same guitar, the same amp, and the same pedal, and not sound the same, depending on the way they play.
Yeah, you have it's a big sound, and it, looking at the aspect of emotionally looking at it, you fill a big space, and I think that's I'm thinking back to maybe when you started, and that self-expression, I'm guessing, is like freedom,
I mean, when you're not beholden to anybody and you just kind of write what you want to write, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You know, and if people like it and they're into it, well, that's even better. But that's not ever guaranteed.
Yeah, no, I know. So I'm wondering about, so your writing process, so listening back to like your first full-length album, Zoroaster, and then to this newest album, I feel like there's a whole journey, you know, in time, but also just in yourself. And the newest album, I feel like, has so much space that you created sonically, and even outer space elements, you know, like the little, I think you were using a synth in there a little bit, and it's...
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like...
You're right. I mean, you know, I'm not the same person as I was 30 years ago, right? I mean, that record was written in 1995, you know, and it's 2026, so it's like, you have to move on. I guess you don't have to. I mean, you know, I do. Like, I feel like Acid King still sounds like Acid King is just a grown-up version, you know, that's like taking the music, you know, to kind of a different place and maybe take a slight left turn, you know. And for the last record, I had a total vision of what I wanted, like it was a soundtrack. And then we ended up putting some vocals in there. We ended up putting some songs with some vocals in there, but it wasn't ever really supposed to be that way. But that record was very purposeful. I knew what I wanted. I wanted to have a record that's kind of sounded like a soundtrack with no beginning and no end, with a lot of transitions, you know, through the synthesizer, keyboard stuff. And yeah, I wanted to do something different. I didn't want to, you know, rewrite anything that I'd already done. So I really had a vision, and I wrote that during the pandemic too, so I had a lot of time on my hands. And I wrote it with Jason Landrian from Black Cobra, so I had like a partner in crime to kind of help me, you know, do some of the things I hadn't done before. I don't know anything about synthesizers, you know, stuff like that. So, you know, he helped me figure that out. So, yeah, the record, that's the direction. And I think if you listen to the last record, Middle of Nowhere, Center of Everywhere, you know, that's probably, you could probably hear, you know, the transformation or whatever you want to call it. Not the transformation necessarily, but just the direction that the band has been going. Because I think Middle of Nowhere, Center of Everywhere is kind of like a stepping stone to, you know, the direction Acid King was going. More atmospheric and not like, you know, a voice that sounds like Joan Jett or, you know, singing from your throat, kind of a thing. So
yeah, you're like expanding. And is it true that you're kind of like you write mostly alone, like before now? That's how you've written? And
I mean, the way in the past it's been very jammy. Like I'll come in with a riff. You know, we'll play on that, and if the bass player, you know, has something, you know, to you know, add to that. So I do. I mean, it's really up to me to come in with, you know, the kind of like the main riffs and stuff. But I work with the band to help organize, and if somebody has an idea, you know, they can toss it in, for sure. I don't sit at home, or I don't write off the whole song and then go in and be like, here's my whole entire song. I don't do that. You know, it's more of a... and this record that I wrote with Jason's a little different because he and I wrote it together. You know, I pretty much, you know, it was my idea and mostly my riffs. But, you know, together we kind of came up with, you know, with all of the little parts and the transitions and so forth. And then the bass player came in and just kind of, actually the bass player was like one of the last pieces to come in after most of the stuff was already written.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know how it's going to go this time around. It'll be interesting to see because I have 2 new members. Well, Bryce isn't new, but I've never written a record. He played on the last record, but the record was already pretty much written,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
So he put in, he definitely added his, you know, his, I guess, you know, influence into it, but it was already, you know, the writing part was already done.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens this time. But yeah, I mean, the ideas are mine. You know, the riffs are usually all mine, and then together with the other band members who kind of organize and craft and you know, they can throw in anything they want.
There's collaboration.
If I like it, it stays. If I don't like it, it gets kicked to the curb.
Yeah. Yeah, that's excellent.
Basically.
So what's next for Acid King?
Well, we've got that much going on this year. I've got to spend the back half of the year. I've got to start writing new music. You know, it's Beyond Vision came out in 2023. It's already 2026.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to Europe in May, and we've got a couple of shows, you know, lined up. But we won't be going on any other bigger tours the rest of the year. Just, you know, one-off shows that pop up that sound interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to, you know, hunker down and concentrate on starting the writing process because I don't really want to spend 5 to 7 years writing another record. You know, I might be dead by then.
Oh my God.
So
the world is a very right now it's a very unstable place, so who knows, but we're all
yeah.
Who knows if any of us will be here, but not to be like doomy, but do you have any sort of, I just have a couple more questions, do you have any sort of rituals for writing, something you like to do or eat or drink or a place you like to be or anything in particular?
No, I pretty much go to the studio because I've never written. Actually, I have a different studio than I did last time, so that'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I like to go to the studio, and I don't really have any rituals, but usually what I do is I go by myself, and I just plug my guitar in, and I just start to play whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'll just start to play whatever and see what comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'll have a riff in my head that I can have a whole song in my head, and then I forget it by the time
I can relate.
Get to the studio. Yeah, it's like it's hard to keep it in your head, right?
Yeah.
You try to hum it in your phone, and then you're like, "What? What was that?" It doesn't sound the same when you hear it back.
Well,
so I don't necessarily have a ritual, but I do need to get out of my house because otherwise there's too many distractions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, between the cat and it's like you have to hide your phone.
Yeah.
So you don't go on your social media. It's so easy to get distracted now these days and everything.
Yeah.
That you really, just need to focus and just go to the studio and just start it. Just start doing it. It's kind of like exercising or dieting or something that you want to do that you're like, oh, I kind of need to do this, but because writing, can be hard. You're not always creative, and sometimes you had a hard day or a long day, and you want to. Sometimes you just don't have anything. You're just like, nope. Mm-hmm. There's no riffs, and then sometimes a fucking riff comes out. A fucking riff was awesome. Mm-hmm. So, it's just putting the work into it. It's almost like a job. It's almost like you need to set yourself. I'm going to spend an hour, go into the studio today, and see what happens, see what I can put down.
Mm-hmm.
I record a bunch of stuff. I just start making a riff compilation. Mm-hmm. And once I feel like I have enough, then I'll start to jam with the band. Like, here's this riff I got, here's this idea I have, and then kind of see where it goes from there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The question I like to ask is about fun tour stories, like one of your favorite or most memorable or best or worst shows, and where?
Oh, wow. Well, one of the worst shows. Wow. I'm trying to think. What was that show? What was that? Oh, that wasn't even with Acid King. That was with another band. Wow. What was the worst show? Oh, I guess you could say this was the worst show. We never even played it. We had a show in Little Rock, Arkansas? I want to say it was like Vinny's or something, like a pizza place and a club.
Mm-hmm.
And we showed up. We did a sound check, and like nobody showed up, like completely empty.
Mm.
And the club promoter was like, "I'll give you like $50 and some pizza, $50 for some pizza and gas to like leave, to not play, because it'll save me money to like let the bartender and the sound guy go home, rather than stay open and let you play." This was in the 90s, so yeah, we took the money and we just left. Went to a hotel and went swimming, and that was our show. That was not our show.
Well, I feel like any real musician, with the exception of some of these young, like, YouTube sensations, I feel like any real musician has a pocket full of stories like this one,
Oh, totally. I mean, and you have to remember, too, like, this was before social media, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, there was a lot more effort you had to put into getting people to your show, like calling the college radio station to promote it, or
and
like
the flyers,
getting on the local whatever newspaper to write something about it. It wasn't easy for like a band like ours just to go somewhere and play, like without any you had to really rely on the promoter, to like get an opening band that's got some draw and flyer. And if they didn't, which they obviously didn't, nobody came. So now it's so much easier to promote, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because all you have to do is go on your social media and it's just a lot easier to get the word out.
Yeah. Well, let's counterbalance that with like a really good experience you've had.
Let's see. A really good experience was, well, there's been many, but one memorable one is that was it our first time? Might have been our first time playing Roadburn. That big festival in Tilburg?
No.
It's in the Netherlands. It's called Roadburn. Check it out.
Oh.
It used to be a lot of bands like ours. It started out as like a stoner rock, It was more eclectic, but it was more bands like ours and Fu Manchu and, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And now if you look it up, you'll see there's a lot more obscure bands. They kind of, took a, left-hand turn on the original concept. I think they just ran out of bands and thought, we can't have the same bands over and over and over a year. So they did, they kind of changed it. But we played it, and there's like several different stages. It's one venue. It's expanded now, but back then it was one venue that had like 3 different stages, right? It was like the 3 bears: the big stage, the medium stage, and the small stage.
Mm-hmm.
And we were supposed to play in the medium stage. And when we got there, the guy was like, "Oh, you're great news. We decided to put you first on the big stage." And we were kind of bummed. We were like, "Oh man, who's going to be there at 5? You know what I mean? When the whole thing starts." But playing the first out of 5 bands on the main stage. So we were actually a little bummed, thinking, okay, cool, whatever. Of course, we're excited to be here. So we did our sound check and went away and, came back. And then it was like, I want to say the bigger place had maybe like, I want to say it was like 2,200 capacity or something like that.
Oh.
It was kind of like a decent size, venue. And so, we get on stage and they open up the curtains, packed, totally packed, and everyone's like, yeah, you know?
Yeah.
And we were like, oh my God, fuck yeah, you know? It was just like completely unexpected. It was really fun, and just the energy, like, bam, right out of the gate, you know?
Yeah.
And it was just really fun. It was just like, you know, it's always good to have, I guess, you know, low expectations.
Yeah. In many things.
No disappointment.
Yeah.
No disappointment.
For sure.
Yeah. So that was pretty awesome. I think we were all just laughing because we just, I mean, we didn't really know what to expect, but for some reason we had written a story to ourselves, you know, that people weren't going to be there that early to see us since we were the first band, and that completely wasn't true. The festival people were there at all times to see everybody. You know, it's not like, you know, it's not like a regular show when there's 4 bands on the bill and like you're not going until band number 3 and like band number 1 gets, you know, whatever, a handful of people.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that's my fun, positive story. Surprise, road burn, awesome crowd.
That's rad. Well, this was really fun talking with you, and thanks so much for taking the time. And I'm just really looking forward to I'm just gonna keep listening to you and come see you live again for sure.
Thank you so much. Where do you live?
I live in Joshua Tree.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
That's true.
It's rough here, but I do come up the coast a lot. I come to San Francisco. I've played there, and I was spending some time up in Seattle recently. Kind of on the fence about moving there because the music scene is so much better than here. So, but it's really exciting.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, a lot of people come to Joshua Tree, and a lot of people like to come there, and especially that festival. It gives people. I mean, I met people. People were there from Spain and Germany and Australia. Like, people love. They're still so connected to Caius. You know, they're always coming to take a picture at the Sky Valley sign and the whole like desert, you know, thing. Desert, you know, so
desert rock. It's growing too. Like this festival, and a couple years ago we had the Heavy Psych Sounds Festival, and that I mean, I'm very aware of what's going on here, and that was the first time we had a doom metal festival here, and I was thrilled to the gills. I got a ticket right away, and then I did a little write-up on that one, and then this festival I was even more excited. You know, so Hippie Death Cult's been here a couple times. Cadabra came by. You've been here now for it's cool that now I like don't have to always go up to Seattle to see it all. I saw your show in the Doom Fest in December at El Corazon also, where you played.
Oh, the Rainy Day
Rain City Doom
Fest.
Yeah,
that was fun.
Yeah, that was awesome.
North Center everywhere.
Yeah, where you played the whole album through. That was rad. But yeah, now like it's kind of growing here where sometimes the good bands come here to play. So that's been exciting for me too.
That's cool. Except for it's fucking 90 degrees and my lips are fucking burnt off from
Yeah, it's pretty rough. We kind of got an early heat wave too, so you guys kind of got it pretty hard this past weekend. But thanks for coming out, and thanks for talking with me, and it was fun.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.